I still remember the exact moment she tossed her graduation cap in the air. It was a bright afternoon in late May, the sun beaming down on the campus lawn like it was blessing every future that was about to begin. She looked radiant, not just because of the robe or the makeup, but because of the freedom she thought she'd finally earned. I was standing in the crowd, holding a bouquet of lilies, her favorite, and my phone in the other hand, refreshing my banking app every few minutes. Because her last tuition payment had just cleared that morning, $7,820. Final semester, paid in full, by me. We'd been together 5 years, through community college, night classes, student debt letters, crying fits before exams. I'd seen all of it. I thought I was part of the reward. I thought I was the reward. After the ceremony, her friends gathered around her. They took pictures, cheered. She waved at me, just a brief flick of her fingers. Didn't even ask me to come up for a photo. Didn't introduce me to the professors. Didn't say, "This is the man who helped me get here." I was just there, an extra. That night, she wanted to go out with the girls, to celebrate. I told her to enjoy herself, even offered to pick her up later. She kissed me on the cheek, softly, absently, like you'd kiss a neighbor or a distant cousin at a family reunion. And then she was gone. I stayed up till 2 a.m. She never texted. At 8:07 the next morning, I got a message. Not a paragraph, not a voice note, just a sentence. "I think it's best if we take some space to figure ourselves out." I read it 3 times. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just kept looking at the words, like they might change if I blinked long enough. Then I opened my banking app again. And that's when I noticed something even worse. She had transferred $4,000 from our shared savings account. I didn't even know she had the login info. We'd called it our savings. But let's be honest, I was the only one depositing into it. Every week, every overtime hour, every canceled trip, every delayed haircut, every old coat I didn't replace. It was me, saving for her future, for our future. Or at least, that's what I thought. When I asked her about the transfer, she replied with just 4 words. It was my share. Her share of what? Of my sacrifices, of the years I worked 2 jobs while she figured things out, of the loan payments I made without ever seeing my own diploma. I tried calling. She didn't answer. I emailed. Nothing. By that evening, she'd blocked my number. Blocked. Like I was some ex from 10 years ago who wouldn't take a hint. Not the man who paid for her degree, fixed her car, helped her mom move houses. Not the man who memorized her favorite sushi order and held her hair back during finals week migraines. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was confused. So I started going through our emails, not to stalk her, just to understand what had changed. That's when I saw the reservation, a flight, booked 2 weeks ago to Miami, 2 tickets, one in her name, one in a man's name I didn't recognize. Not her brother, not a cousin, just Marcus. No last name, no explanation. But the timing, it was for this weekend. Graduation was just her exit ramp, and I'd been building the road the whole time. I stared at that name for a long time. Marcus, just Marcus. He wasn't a friend I knew, not a classmate she'd ever mentioned, not someone from work. The email trail wasn't hard to follow. They hadn't even bothered to hide it. Receipts, dinner reservations, hotel bookings, messages in the shared email folder, the one we used for bills and flight confirmations. She had been using it like her own personal journal of betrayal, photos, inside jokes, a playlist called Weekend Escape. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional. And it had been going on for at least 5 months. I remember sitting there on the edge of our bed, no, my bed now, and feeling something shift inside me. Not sadness, not rage, something colder, more focused. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to send angry texts or beg her to come back. I was done playing the fool. She wanted freedom, fine, but not without consequences. I waited until the next evening. She was supposed to be at yoga. That gave me a 2-hour window. I drove over to her apartment building, the one I had helped her find, the one I had helped her furnish, paid the deposit, set up the utilities. All that effort for her to use it as a place to play house with someone else. I didn't knock. I didn't barge in. I had a key. She never thought to change the locks. Inside, it was exactly what I expected. 2 coffee mugs in the sink, a hoodie I didn't recognize thrown over the couch, and on the table, a framed photo of her and Marcus, smiling. I wasn't in any pictures anymore, not on the walls, not in the memories she was building. I walked through each room like I was inspecting a stranger's life. And in a way, I was. She had become someone I didn't recognize. Or maybe I just hadn't been paying attention. Maybe she'd been disappearing for longer than I realized. I didn't touch anything, didn't leave a note, didn't break a single thing. But I did one thing. I took back the laptop I bought her. The one she used for graduate school. She'd left it on the desk, logged in, open, stupid. And what I saw there, what I saw next, changed everything. I wasn't snooping. Let's get that clear. When someone leaves the door wide open, you don't need to sneak in, you walk through. Her laptop was still on, still connected to the Wi-Fi I'd helped her set up, still logged into the cloud I paid for, and that's where I found it. A folder labeled Class Notes. Harmless enough. Except the contents weren't notes. They were pictures, videos, screenshots of texts, her and Marcus, together at restaurants, at a cabin in the mountains, that I'd rented for our anniversary last year. Photos taken from angles that made it clear she wasn't alone. There were dozens, time-stamped, geotagged, going back months. Back to when she told me she was just overwhelmed and needed space to focus on school. That was a lie. And I knew it now. She hadn't drifted away. She had jumped, headfirst, into something else. Someone else. I sat there, staring at the screen, the kind of silence that presses down on your chest until you feel like you're drowning in stillness. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I just felt cold, but also clear, because this was proof, not just of betrayal, but of intent, of choices, of who she'd chosen to be. And now it was my turn to choose. I didn't confront her that night. There was nothing to say, nothing I'd believe anyway. Instead, I made copies of everything. I forwarded the entire folder to a backup email, stored it on an encrypted drive, printed out key screenshots. This wasn't just personal anymore. It was strategic. Because here's what she didn't know. The house? My name was the only one on the mortgage. I'd bought it before we married. She never wanted to deal with the paperwork, didn't care. Until now. The student loans? All in my name, because her credit was shot when we met. I'd paid for her degree, every semester, every book, every fee. She promised it would be our future, but now she was packing for hers, alone. So I took a few days, met with a lawyer, filed separation paperwork, blocked her access to our joint savings, transferred my paycheck to a private account, changed the locks, sent her a single message. We need to talk. Legal talk. She didn't reply for 2 days. Then I got an email. "Derek, you misunderstood everything. I was confused. I didn't mean for it to go this far." That's what they always say, right? When they've already walked away, but still want you to cushion their landing. Number. She made her choices. Now she could live with the consequences. The day she graduated, I sat in the back row. Didn't tell her I was coming. Didn't cheer when they called her name. I just watched. She looked happy, radiant even, like someone who'd finally arrived. Next to her, on the lawn afterward, was him, the guy from the photos, the one she said meant nothing. They posed together, smiling, his hand on her waist, like I'd never existed. She didn't even look around, didn't check if I was there. I guess she thought I'd moved on, that I was too broken to show up, but I wanted to see it for myself, to make it real. And when she tossed her cap in the air, I stood up, turned around, and walked away. That night, she came home to an empty house. Her key didn't work. Her closet was packed in boxes in the garage. A note on the kitchen counter read, "You graduated." So did I. I didn't cry when I left. Not that night. Not the next day. I'd already done all my crying months before, when I first saw the late night texts, when she started coming home smelling like someone else, when she stopped kissing me goodbye. After she left, I moved out of the city, got a place 2 towns over, quiet, cheap, close to nothing, and that was the point. I went back to freelance coding, built websites for local businesses, nothing fancy, just enough to keep the lights on and my mind occupied. Some nights, I still checked her social media. At first, she was smiling in every post, like betrayal had become her new skincare routine. Then I stopped checking, unfollowed, blocked. It wasn't for her, it was for me. I had to stop bleeding into the same wound every day. I started volunteering on weekends, built a raised garden bed at a youth center, taught some kids how to use a soldering iron. And one of them said, "You don't smile much, but you're cool." It was the first time I'd felt useful in a long time. A few months later, I ran into her sister, Casey. We were both waiting in line at a pharmacy. She looked surprised to see me, and then guilty, like she owed me something. She said, she's not with him anymore. I just nodded, didn't ask questions, didn't want the answers. Then she added, she regrets it. The way it happened, not telling you sooner. I didn't say anything. What could I have said? That betrayal hurts more when it pretends to be love. She handed me a receipt I'd dropped and whispered, "You didn't deserve that, Derek." I managed a faint smile, a tired one. Later that night, I wrote in my journal for the first time in months, just 4 words. "I'm not angry anymore." And it was true. Not because I forgave her, but because I forgave myself. For staying too long, for trying too hard, for loving someone who wasn't ready to be loved honestly. 1 year later, I moved. Not far, just a few towns over. A small rental with peeling paint, a crooked fence, and a view of the woods out back. But it was mine. Every nail, every dent, every creak in the floor. I started teaching part-time at a local community college. English literature, irony, right? Reading stories about truth and betrayal with 20-year-olds who think they know everything. But it helped. Talking about characters who made mistakes, who lived through heartbreak and still found meaning. I kept writing too. Not for her, not for anyone, just for me. Pages filled with lessons I'd paid dearly to learn. Some nights, I'd sit on the porch, a cup of coffee in hand, listening to nothing but wind and cicadas. I'd think about the man I used to be, The one who believed love was enough. The one who thought sacrifice guaranteed loyalty. I'm not that man anymore, and that's not a tragedy. It's growth. She took years from me, but I won't let her take my future. I'm building something now, not a relationship, not a dream based on someone else's needs, but a life, solid, simple, true.